Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters. And yes, today is a very special day. We didn't know this was happening. I don't think anybody really did. We did just get the poster, like I think yesterday, or was it just a couple days ago? 28 years later, obviously, the long awaited sequel for the 28 duology, I guess you can call it, the duo of films we got back in the early 2000s. And yeah, I don't know. I was excited about it, but I wasn't like, dying to see anything. I wasn't over the moon. It was certainly exciting to see what they were cooking up in the camp over there with all of the casting announcements and Danny Boyle being back and hearing that it's a trilogy and all that. But, it was just something that was kind of there. And I gotta say, guys, seeing this trailer, and I know this is just going to sound like a broken record from everybody else, but what a trailer. I immediately was thinking about it all day, and I had to contact you earlier and just say, man, this thing is gorgeous. You got to take a look at it. And Luke, you watch the trailer. I mean, just give us your thoughts, 28 days, weeks, and your thoughts on the trailer initially.
Well, we've been so far removed from 28 days, 28 weeks later that when it was announced, I was like, oh, cool. But it wasn't something that had been in my mind thinking, I really wish we would get 28 years later sometime soon. It kind of caught me off guard. And I was like, I'll see what they have to offer. It seems promising, but it wasn't something I'm sitting here waiting for updates on. So when the trailer dropped, honestly, I didn't watch it when it first dropped online. I was like, I'll get around to watching it today. And I did not watch it until I was honestly getting ready to watch it as you had sent me a message. And I was like, oh, I'm just about to watch it right now. So it was something where when they announced 28 years later, I was a little lukewarm on it. I was like, we'll play it by ear, see how it plays out. But I got to say, I watched this trailer before we sat down here again, and it gets my heart racing. It's the Rudyard Kipling's boots in that thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's perfect. It fits so well. And my heart's still beating right now because I legitimately just watched it before we got in the studio right now. So it's got me really, really excited.
And, what was fun is like I talk about my wife quite a bit on this channel. And she's into horror very passively, I should say. We should know that by now. But she's terrified of zombie films. And although I know I've been seeing the criticism in the comments, and I understand these are infected, they're not necessarily zombies, at least in the first and second film. But she watched this trailer. It popped up on TikTok for her. And she stopped it halfway through and was like, hey, have you seen this? This looks insane. And she asked if we could get a screener for it. And I'm just like, oh, this is a big movie. Like, this is something we're going to have to go to a screening for. And her only comment to it was just that she's like, I'm going to have to take the next day off of work because she is terrified of zombie stuff, but she can't get enough of it. So yeah, that's pretty exciting to see, just kind of like, I guess a non-horror fan, more of a layman's look at it, saying, this looks exciting. This looks really, really intense and cool. So I don't know, man. I think 28 years later just really came out with a bang and really surprised everybody here, because I have seen nothing but a glowing response from this.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and when we're in the horror space and you have your Friday the 13th, you have your Halloweens, Nightmare on Elm Streets, the 28 days, weeks, years later franchise, I don't know necessarily if anyone was really expecting something like this. And, the first two films, absolute quality. But like when you mention infected zombies, whatever you want to call them, aesthetically, they're slightly similar, and they kind of play similar beats where I think everyone has that Walking Dead fatigue, a lot of the zombie stuff that had went on, and we're kind of coming out of it. So to look at this take here and to get you excited with those kind of elements that we're so familiar with, but it feels like, and I know it's just a trailer, and they give you in this trailer, they give you just enough to be excited, not enough to spoil anything, which I absolutely love, but it did its job, and it has caught my intrigue for zombie, infected, whatever subgenre we want to play to right now. This is the first time in a very long time that something has caught my intrigue and my absolute excitement for this.
Yeah, and there's a few reasons I think that is, and I'm excited to dive into them. But the thing I really wanted to hint on lastly, before we really dive in and break down this trailer, is just the feeling of The Last of Us, specifically the games in this. I feel it very heavily. Aaron Taylor Johnson walking around with a bow and arrow. You get that shot of the island, and it looks like they're kind of, walking this long road over the water to what I assume is more or less the mainland. So it's kind of like maybe they have like a little bit of a hideaway out there, and that's where they live, and then they have to come to the mainland for supplies, whatever you may have. So it's really, really cool. And, it just sets up such a different world than we've seen from this franchise and, many others too, because everybody likes to focus on the outbreak happening, the day of the outbreak and stuff. This is going to be like watching sort of in a way like Day of the Dead, in a sense, where it's like it's been a while, like things have been going on for some time. So it's going to be really cool to see what happens with these infected 28 years later. I imagine they're going to be very much more zombie like this time around, rather than just being infected people with this. I believe it was Rage is what they said it was, because I went back and did a little bit of a brush up on 28 and 28 weeks as I was gearing up for this today. But it's, again, really cool concept. And I think one of the things that excites me the most about this is having Alex Garland come back to write, for one. I loved Civil War. Her was questionable, but everything else the guy has done, I think, is absolute quality. But then having Danny Boyle step back in and want to do something with this and being excited about it, that to me is a very, very good sign, because Danny Boyle, I know not every one of his films hits for everybody, but the guy is not afraid to experiment. And I don't think this is going to be a conventional zombie film, conventional virus film, any stretch of the imagination here. I really think we're going to see some interesting stuff. And you get a lot of that imagery here. It looks like there's a lot of societal changes, a lot of cultish stuff, a lot of, people, worshiping other things, twisting things from the old world that you see a little bit. It's really, really cool to see this world fleshed out. And I think he is the perfect person to put behind the camera to start this new trilogy.
Certainly. And, that was that on that initial announcement when Danny Boyle was coming back. And that's really what got my intrigue, is we've had so many older properties that are like, hey, it's been 10 years plus and we're pumping out a sequel. No one from anything original is attached, but it still has the name and we're going to hope for the best, and that type of stuff kind of takes the wins out of your sales. I think, where it's kind of like, maybe they're grasping at straws. They're really just trying to get the name value out there. But this one does seem like such quality. And, you talk about those zombie flicks, those infected flicks like that, and you get that human element. And there are so many similar beats, again, with those types of things where humans become the bigger threat. And it looks like, in 28 years later, we're certainly having that element. But I'm intrigued to see what different take we're going to have, because I'm very certain and very excited that we're going to have more of a unique style of storytelling here, because in 2024, so many things like that have been done that you have to find a new window to climb through, I think. And I think Danny Boyle and the team are really going to look at this and really come at it from a different avenue. And I haven't seen Civil War yet. And I'll be honest, I've been putting it off and putting it off. We've had so many horror screeners, so many different things to go to check out and review. Civil War has been on my watch list, but it just hasn't been something I've been able to sit down and commit to. But after this trailer, I'm very excited to sit down. That has skyrocketed to the top of my list to really check that one out, just because I feel like that voice is going to be somewhat similar to what we're going to see in 28 years later. Maybe not exactly, but I think we're going to have some of that, those ideas and some subject matter that's really going to climb into 28 years later. And that's what I'm excited for here, because I think this one, we are so far removed from those first two films that we're going to be dealing with different subject matter and tackling different issues while still having some of those issues from those first two films. It's going to really look like a different landscape. And I think that does show in this trailer.
Yeah, and I think having Alex Garland come in, especially just fresh off of Civil War, is so perfect. I feel that energy, that scope that I was raving about in that film, and that is maybe, I don't know, I'd have to really look and see what I've seen this year, but that may be my favorite non-horror film of the year, just in general, because like I still think about that experience, getting to see that on the IMAX screen. I own it on 4K and I've watched a handful of times since then. Really impressive film there, and I'm excited to see kind of that same energy transfer here. Now, a couple things that we all kind of know about, before we get into the big piece of controversy that's coming out of this one, is this was shot with an iPhone. I believe it was an iPhone 15 Max. So a Pro Max. I'm sorry, it's got to get all the verbiage right.
Get the
But
specs right, man.
yeah, and you know what I find funny about that is like everybody is so blown away by it, and it's like it does look great. Like the shots, everything that they're showing, like especially the wides, like the zombies running from the trees and everything, like it looks beautiful. And like that's the kind of experimental energy I'm excited to see from Danny Boyle, is like taking technology like that and really pushing it to its limit. Now, mind you, I think that it is fair to say that, of course, this is not just shot on a phone like this. They have many different lenses and fixtures and other things attached to it, but the initial like capture of the footage is on the iPhone, which I think is super cool. It's something that I do respect about the man. Again, I loved what was that? Steve Jobs, I think, was the one that he made, where it's shot in three different formats over three different eras. Like that's such a cool thing, and I really appreciate his eye for that. And yeah, I mean, going back and being excited to revisit 28 Days Later, I'm really excited to see kind of what I didn't soak up when I saw that as a younger, person, and see it with more of an analytical eye and really see what he brought to the genre there. I'm excited to revisit those films and see what I kind of missed, because yeah, I mean, if it's anything like what I'm seeing here, oh my God, like it's so beautiful. Like, I mean, every frame in this is just dripping with mood and atmosphere and excitement for me.
And I'm excited to go back and rewatch those first two films as well, because those ones, I was a younger lad in those days, and it was really just kind of going to the video store, and both of those were just pickups, where it was like, I'm gonna throw these in on a Saturday night and just watch them. It wasn't anything where I was looking for more or really appreciating from a filmmaking perspective or any tension or anything like that. It was just kind of just throwing them on and having a good time. And I don't know if I'm 100%, but I think weren't those Blu-rays a little bit harder to find, I think?
Oh, they're very much out of print. That was something I was going to touch on at the end here, but yeah, no, they're extremely out of print. There's rumors, obviously, now since 28, we knew we were getting this in 2025. A lot of people have been rumoring that there's going to be one of the big companies, I think it's Arrow, that everybody's circling, is going to be putting out a 4K set of the two of them. But we'll see. I mean, I hope, if not them, then at least just I think it's Sony who has them right now, should just release at least a standard 4K or at least a Blu-ray.
I certainly hope we get some sort of boutique label it's really going to release these in a very, very nice way, just because I think those films deserve it. So I'm really excited to go back and revisit those wherever I can obtain them from. So I don't know if they're on streaming or anything like that, but
no, they're not even on streaming.
Okay, well, it's going to be a rough find. So hopefully before the release of this. But, the trailer itself feels so visceral. Like I said, I haven't had a trailer like this that really gets your heart pounding and makes you nervous in a certain aspect, I think. So I'm excited to see how that's going to translate into the film. I have full confidence that they're going to, and this isn't just kind of a great trailer followed by a mediocre film. I'm fully excited for this one. This one absolutely has me on board. It's certainly one of the top films in 2025 that I'm excited to check out.
Yeah, and I think some of the key points that really stood out to me, obviously, I love the opening here. You can clearly tell that that's set back back on day one, where it's like people are kind of freaking out. At least it feels that way, just because you have the CD stand there, you have the RCA TV, they're watching Teletubbies. If not that, yeah, it's another thing where it's like we're living in an apocalypse where time kind of stood still. RCA TVs and everything were still a thing around the early 2000s when that last film came out. Because if I'm not mistaken, that one came out in 2004, 2005.
It was early 2000s at some point. I'm not entirely sure of the date.
2002.
Okay,
so,
yeah, I knew it was early 2000s because I remember watching that one, again, a young lad throwing that one in the DVD player and just being immersed.
Yeah, it was on FX all the time, that and 28 Weeks as I grew up. But then I love seeing again the island shots. I think those are great. The zombies running from, or the infected running from the trees is super cool. I'm obsessed with just how they have Aaron Taylor Johnson. And I didn't catch the boy that's with him's name. I can pull it up here, but I am so impressed with just how Last of Us they look. And I mean, Luke knows, not just from the show, but just like how much I love that second game and how much that energy is just kind of permeating from here. But yeah, it's looks exciting. And then of course, well, actually, I want to mention this first because there's a scene where you see some soldiers in what I think is like some kind of a cave, some kind of a tunnel. I don't know if that's a flashback or not, but it looks creepy. It looks cool. I'm very curious to see where that's taking place and if soldiers and stuff are still necessarily around like that. I'm real excited to see where the scope of that goes. But obviously, the piece that everybody's touching on, the thing that you're kind of seeing a little bit of pushback from, I really doubt that this is nothing more than like a dream sequence or like some form of, misdirect here. We don't even know if it is officially. It just kind of looks like him, but apparently everybody thinks that zombie, that really skinny zombie coming up out of the weeds there is Cillian Murphy. Luke, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm with you on it could be some sort of dream sequence. I'm really intrigued by that one. I think it would have to be him in any sense, whether it's actually him or it's a dream sequence, whatever it has to be. It's easily put in there for a talking point. It's not something that is, just some background noise. I guess it is front and center right there. You're not going to miss him. That's the thing that I've seen being plastered all over as well, where it's,
Mhm.
that is such a talking point right
I
now.
probably have it in the thumbnail too, so it's definitely everywhere.
I'm rather excited to see what that storytelling's going to be. Like I said, I haven't had a trailer that's got me this excited and asked so many questions while really not telling us that much at all. So I think they really did their job here in terms of building that intrigue. I think maybe, like you said, that first film came out in 2002, and we have been a little further removed from those original two films. So even nowadays, people growing up that are 16, 17, really probably those are films they probably never even watched unless, they're really into the horror space. So I think this has certainly built that intrigue for a lot of people to say 28 years later, something, what is this, a July release or
This is
is this the
June.
summer? June?
June.
Okay.
Mhm.
I think this is such a smart play to kind of start the summer releases there, a big release in the horror space. I think a lot of people are going to be excited about it.
Oh yeah, and just looking at the trivia here, that's very sparsely on IMDb. It did actually flag something for me too. Is that there was an interview right around when Civil War was coming out earlier this year, where I guess Alex Garland's been very open that he's stepping away from directing for a while, just because he loves writing, and he said that this trilogy that he wrote and worked with Danny Boyle and stuff is, and of course Nia DaCosta doing the sequel here. It's he's said that he's been like rejuvenated writing this and really getting to play in this world again. He feels excited to be messing with this, and an excited Alex Garland is an Alex Garland that I am excited to see on the big screen personally. And yeah, I mean, we didn't even touch on that. I'm sure there will be more time for us to talk about this, but Nia DaCosta from Candyman doing the sequel here, we already know that it's already been shot, so they're shooting them back to back. That is so exciting. I'm really loving the energy from the 28 days later camp here. I think that they're going to play with some experimentation. They're going to have some fun with this, and really, ultimately, I want that thrill that you were just describing a little bit ago, Luke. I want that in this movie. I want that in all three of these. I want my heart pumping. I want to be scared, and I want to be just like, yes, like I want an apocalypse movie that scares me again.
Certainly. And for long-term planning here, you really have to have this kind of almost a restart in a sense, because we haven't seen 28 years properties in a minute, where you really have to have that strong start here. It does look like they're producing that so that we can get to the finish line when we're all said and done with the franchise. So I'm excited to see what they're going to bring. I think I use the word experimentation. I think that's really what this franchise is going to be after we're seeing it here in 28 years later. I think down the road we're going to see even more here, see some versatility in technology, and really a difference in storytelling. Now, we could be getting ourselves pumped up a little too much,
Yeah.
but hey, it's a great trailer. We have to see how this is going to play out, but certainly a strong start to kind of reigniting the 28 days, weeks, years later franchise.
Absolutely. I mean, all across the board here, I'm pumped. I think it looks good. I think this has just shot up the list for many people. I know we're planning on doing another most anticipated of 2025 with, I think, our friends over at Sledgehammer. We're talking about doing that again. I'm looking forward to that video because I know this is probably going to pop up on a few of our lists. If not, it'll at least be on mine. So that way we can talk about it because, yeah, this definitely came out swinging. I hope they keep this energy up. And honestly, let's keep these trailers very much like this. Take note, studios. This was a good trailer. I've seen that praise a lot over the last 24 hours here. This was very well done. Doesn't tell you too much, like you said. It just gives you all the energy, all the vibes you can get from it. And clearly it has caught the attention and ire of many people out there. So I think they did a good job. So let us know down below if you guys are excited for 28 years later. And if you are looking forward to this and you want to see us do some, breakdowns, reviews of the first two films in the lead up to this, give this video a like. And definitely, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have you a part of the community and keeping up with all your 28 years later coverage. But I think that's going to wrap us up here. So until next time, guys, I'm Dylan Newell.
And I'm Luke Janesco.
And remember, stay scared.
Do the hard shit, gonna do it live. Cause Splattercast kick it every day they live. Splattercast, gonna smash your ass. 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 Splattercast, gonna smash your ass.